You know, every body shop that is available around the world, they all have a certain procedure that they follow. The standard there is that when you deliver your car with a dent or with a scratch, they remove the dent, but then they need to repaint part of the car. Now, in order to do that, they first have to take away the existing paint, either in a small area to do a smart repair or on a whole panel if it's more than that. Then put a body filler to smoothen the surface again. This body filler needs to be sanded down to make it more smooth. Then you put the primer down to make sure that your paint afterwards will actually stick to the surface. And this primer you buff down again because it needs to be smooth, and then you put your paint. Now, this is normal. Everybody knows it, and there's nothing special about it. However, the traditional way to do this involves a lot of products. So if you take any abrasive brand in the world, any of the more famous one, you usually start off with a very coarse disc, which is called grit P80 or P60, which basically means that per square inch you have 60 abrasive grains or 80 abrasive grains. The more grain, the finer the disc becomes and the finer the end result becomes. So you start coarse because you want the body filler is quite thick. You want to remove this and make it smooth, make a flat surface. And you go basically from 80 to 120 to 180 to 220 to... This is a step that usually involves 7 to 11 different grains from the start of your job to the point where you can actually start painting. This is, again, quite normal. Now, our company has just 1 week back released a brand new product which we call Multi-Air 2 Cyclonic. The reason why it is called like that is because it has a cyclonic hole pattern. Because what a lot of people tend to ignore is that it's nice to have a good quality sanding disc. The problem is that every sanding disc in the world basically can work longer than it, in theory, than it in reality can. Because what happens when you use an abrasive, you create a lot of dust, you take particles away from the surface. These particles will then start blocking your disc. We call that clogging. So once your disc is blocked, is clogged, you cannot use it anymore because it won't do anything. It will create scratches, but it will create deeper scratches than you want, which in the end will be visible on your end result. So the technician, once he sees the disc is clogged, will rip it off, throw it away and take a new one. If you connect your random orbital sander, which the technicians work with, to an extraction system, you can prolong the lifetime of the disc, because the standard on the market is a 15-hole disc. It's a disc that has 15 holes inside that are supposed to take as much of the dust away into the extraction device as possible, which usually extends the lifetime of the disc by something around 40 to 50%, which is substantial, obviously. Now, what we have done is we have developed something which we call a cyclonic hole pattern. Now, if you take a look from the rear, you can see that it looks a little bit like a sunflower. The reason for that is that there is a mathematical formula behind it, which is called Fibonacci, which is basically a way to calculate air movement. Now, what we've done with this hole pattern is we created a hole pattern that forces the air into a swirl movement, like a mini tornado, which basically means that when you have this disc on your sander, you get an extraction that is higher than anything else on the market as of now. You can literally sand with that disc without creating any dust whatsoever. Means this disc, theoretically, your technicians could, without harmful health consequences, work without masks, because there is no dust. Nothing, no dust at all. That also means that this disc will work longer than anything else on the market as of now. And that includes the top products of our main competitors, which we can with this disc beat by about 30 to 40%, both in lifetime and also in speed, because every time the technician rips off the disc from his sander and puts it back on, normally he needs to aim to make sure that the holes in the disc align the holes in the sander to get extraction. All of this takes time. This hole pattern has 394 holes. There is no alignment necessary. You literally put this on a sander without even looking, because it doesn't matter how you put the discs. There are so many holes that you always get the extraction that you need. And that's another great thing. On top of that, we developed a system here that can do the whole step from buffing down your primer, buffing down your body filler, to buffing down your primer prior to painting with 4 discs only. So instead of having 7 or 11 steps, you literally have only 4, which is these 4. And as you can see, they are color coded. This has been done so to make it a bit more easy for the technicians, because another thing that you will see in a body shop is you somewhere have a cart or a shelf where there's like 20 or 30 boxes with abrasive discs on. And every time the technician goes to the next step, he goes to those boxes and starts searching for the right grid. This is another minute or 2 or 3 that's lost. It's paid, but you have no gain, because he just searches for the right grid, then puts it into his sander and continues working. This, since it is only 4, and since it is color coded, there's no searching anymore. Plus, we actually deliver these with the dispensing unit, where the discs are stacked up as per color, this way around, on a spindle that is spring mounted. So you only take your sander, you press it on the spindle, and you have the disc perfectly centralized on your sander. No time loss, you can immediately start working. And you can also see that the finer grids on these, they have a foam backing. This has been done because obviously not all parts of the car are only flat surfaces. I mean, if you look at this bonnet, you have here a quite steep curve. If you want to work on this curve with a standard disc, without any foam backing, without an interface, it won't work. You will definitely damage this edge and this edge, because this is where you put most pressure. I mean, imagine you have a stiff unit. Yeah. Obviously, yeah, on the edges is where you put most pressure. This is where you cut hardest, and this is where you will go through your clear, through your paint, through your primer, requiring you to start all over in the end. Normally you would put an interface, which will interrupt your work, because you need to take the existing disc off the sander, you need to put an interface, you put the disc back on, and you continue working, which allows you to work on this part, but not on a flat surface, because when you work with an interface, you lose pressure. If you lose pressure, you lose work time. This here is our solution for that problem, because it is a mix of having this interface in form of a foam backing, but the foam is very firm and it's very thin, which is just enough to make sure that you get an equalized pressure on curves, but at the same time it is thin enough and hard enough to allow you to put enough pressure to work on a flat surface. So with this system, you literally can do your whole work having 4 discs, organized, no searching anymore, no mistakes your guys can do. Even someone that doesn't have a lot of experience in sanding will be able to sand without damaging anything. And I can say, because I've tried it myself. I tried it with our existing product and I did damage the surface, because I'm not sanding every day, obviously. I tried it with this and it worked perfectly, no damage whatsoever. So this is a huge, huge benefit. The best thing is, this is not more expensive than our existing range of ceramic products, because this is a ceramic disc, meaning it's designed to work very, very fast and to last very, very long. Just to give you an idea, if you would want to sand this whole bonnet on a standard disc, on a standard aluminum oxide disc, you will probably need about 4 to 5 discs of each grid to do your job here. This will be one. One disc of this will do this whole bonnet easily, and probably part of the side. So that's a really amazing product of ours that I think is sort of a game changer. It's not something for every workshop, because you know there's a lot of people that look to the price only, and this is on the higher range, on the higher price range, obviously, since it's a ceramic disc. But all the OEM workshops where time is an issue, this is the perfect solution.